Welcome to the Bird Gang Nation Sports Media Show, repping the greatest team of all time. Let's go! Bird Gang 31, he be the host with the most. We going deep, burning teams. They ain't nothing but toast. It's in your Estes. Sirianni put me in coach, running like Miles Sanders till I butt my head on the post. Touchdown! Yeah, that's coming. Devontae's crazy route running. Jalen hurting them, throwing lasers. The Rager young gunning. Come on! On the D side, we ride, sack him with Fletcher, lay him out on the stretcher. No one can protect you. Watch Darius lay him, shutting down your routes. Come on! In my green John, eating Philly cheesesteaks. Put up your cups, wings up, if you can relate. Tailgating at the link like Gangsta Stride. To the Bird Gang Nation, that's worldwide. On Sundays, catch the pre and post game. Mondays is Birds on Broad Street with Philly Notion and Cool Cat, the man in motion. And Wednesdays, the midweek special got you open with JC from Eagles Talk, hitting like B-Dog, baby.
Welcome to another episode of Bird Gang Nation Sports Talk. I'm your host, Bird Gang 31. Today, Nation, we have a very special guest in the house. We got Matthew Peterson from Chat Sports Broncos, to come talk about this weekend's matchup against the Broncos. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to Sunday because it's going to be a good game, I think. I don't know if it matches up maybe the best games of the slate on Sunday, but I think it's going to be a fun one because you got two teams kind of going unique directions.
Yes, man. We need this win, man. We need the last week's win. We need every win going forward. So, you know what I'm saying? We're going to see how it works out. So tell me, Matthew, what is your expectations of the game, and how did you feel before the season started about the Broncos, and how do you feel about them now?
Well, my expectations are the Broncos are 3-0 against your division, the NFC East. So they're off to a good start there. They seem to have the number for all those teams out east. But I'm sure you were happy to see the Broncos beat the crap out of the Cowboys last week.
Yes, it was so great.
It made me feel very different about this team because they showed a heartbeat that they really hadn't had since week 3 of the season. So I'm excited to see what's going to come out in the field on Sunday. I really can't predict it all that well because I thought they were going to lose to Denver, frankly, and they turned it around. So who knows what we're going to get. But this is a team that I thought maybe could make the playoffs this year. I love their roster going into it. I thought they were kind of under the radar, and the NFL is full of parity. And every year you need a team to come out of nowhere. I thought that could be Denver, and it sure looked like it. But they got hit in the face after a 3-game win streak. But it's a long season, so we're going to see what they're made of in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I was shocked you guys did that even after the departure of Von Miller. Did you think that the defense was going to play that well without a guy like Von Miller, or was Von Miller kind of already on his way out type of situation?
I mean, he was the team sack leader, but there's something in sports that it doesn't really matter what level of sports it is, whether it's NFL or MLB, NBA. When teams lose their best players, your immediate reaction is they're going to get worse. But I wouldn't say time and time again, but more often than you would expect, somehow teams are able to rally around the adversity. And it looks like that's what the defense did because the Broncos were last Sunday against Dallas, who has a very good offensive line. They're still figuring out what they want to do with kind of more chefs in the kitchen than they expect. But they're down their top 3 pass rushers from week 1. You traded Von Miller, Bradley Chubb's on IR, and then you got Malik Reed, who's also hurt. And you got the 7th-round pick out of Ohio State named Jonathan Cooper, who people are still learning his name in Denver, and he's just jumping on Dak Prescott's back. So we're going to find out if this defense was a fluke last season, or if this is the making of a bunch of younger guys that want to become household names in Mile High.
Yeah, man. Talk about young guy. Is Surtain playing this weekend?
kind of up in the air right now. He had a knee injury in Denver, got an MRI back on Monday, and the MRI didn't show anything negative, but it didn't immediately clear him. So we're still waiting. I think the practice today, the final injury report will be a big sign of that, and we'll find out. But it's hard to say. I don't want to speculate, but I would like to think he's on a good direction just based off the language that was used. It didn't sound more doubtful. It sounded a little more optimistic, but you never really know with injuries.
Yeah, man. Any other injury news on the Broncos front for us?
Yeah, so they're beat up on the off. Well, they're one of the most beat up teams, and no team wants that award. But the Broncos are pretty much in the they're clear-cut favorites for it, especially on defense. But the offensive line went under a rash of injuries, so they lost their right guard in Dallas for the season. They're probably down at least one tackle. Their right tackle, Bobby Massey, got hurt. And then the left tackle, Garrett Bowles, he missed last week against Dallas after getting hurt the week before in the Washington matchup. So he's a little up in the air for this week, but the Broncos could have 3 different offensive linemen starting this week compared to most of the season.
Wow. Yeah, man. I see Jerry Jeudy's back out there, though. You know what I'm
Jeudy
saying? Were you
is,
high on Jeudy?
Yeah, I am. Last year, if you look at just the numbers, you think, oh, that's a great season. But I think when you're drafted in the first round, the expectations are higher than maybe what he put on the field. But he has really grown to be more than just one-dimensional. I think you're kind of seeing that in Devontae Smith, right? He's a player that doesn't just do one route. As opposed to, I like Jalen Reagor, but I think Reagor has to break out of that mold just a little bit of more than just a speed of pace kind of guy. You got to be sort of an every down receiver. And that's what you're seeing out of Jeudy. Jeudy is not just a player that can go out and pick you up a long touchdown or a 35-yard go route. He can get you 3rd and 9 across the middle and take a hit. And that's what I've loved about Jeudy so far. And I know the Eagles, their linebacker core isn't the best. So that's going to be a big focus for them is the middle of the field.
Yeah, man. You know them Alabama boys, they know how to play some football, man. And Waddle over there in Miami. You know, we got Smith, really, all these guys, man. They've been good receivers coming into the league. You know, they're really good at route running. So is Jeudy your number 1, or is it Patrick or Surtain?
You're thinking of Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick. Yeah. There's a lot of similar names in Denver. Yeah. Jeudy, since coming off the ankle injury, so this will be his 3rd game back. He got hurt against the Giants in week 1, missed a handful of weeks, returned 2 weeks ago. I would say yes, he is the number 1 receiver, but I think Cortland Sutton is a name that if you have him on your fantasy team, you know all about him. If you don't watch Broncos games and you don't have him on your fantasy team, then you learn about him when he torches you in fantasy football. So I think Cortland Sutton is a really good deep threat guy. He's kind of hit or miss some weeks. Sometimes he doesn't get money receptions at all, but sometimes he goes off for 10 receptions and 2 touchdowns and $120. So I think Jeudy is the number 1 guy. If I had to guess, Darius Slay would spend most of this week watching Jeudy. Because Slay, he's a fast corner, and Judy's a fast guy. So that's going to be a great matchup to watch, I think, on Sunday.
Yeah. What's your impressions of Bridgewater over there? I don't think anybody expected him to be having such, success early in the season. How do you like him?
He got off to a great start. And there was a little some rumblings of, wow, did the Broncos, rejuvenate Bridgewater's career after kind of a down year last year in Carolina? But then you had the middle of the season, but weeks, 4 through 7, where the Broncos lost a handful of games. Bridgewater got a concussion in week 4, and it looked like this offense may be going backwards a little bit. And that's been a big knock of Pat Shurmur. And I think Eagles fans know that name, right? So probably happy to see him not having success after a couple of years in New York. But it looks like Bridgewater may be going back to what he looked like in the beginning of the season. I'll tell you one thing. He's Teddy 2 covers, okay? He knows the spread, whether he likes it or not, and he goes out and he finds a way. Plus 10 points was a cakewalk for him last week in Dallas. So Broncos 3-point favorites this week. He's Teddy 2 covers. That's all I'm going to say.
Let's go to your running game, man. Melvin Ingram's been is that right? Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon been having some pretty good games lately. How do you like that backfield over there in Denver?
Yeah, Gordon's been fun to watch. He's in the last year of his contract, so it kind of looks like the Broncos are just feeding him the rock to get all the touches they can out of him. But the name you guys got to watch for is Javonte Williams. I think next year people will really be on notice of him after a full season this year. Had his first 100-yard game last week against Dallas. he is a tough son of a bitch, plain out and simple. He is tough to bring down. He is the kind of player that plays with like walls along the sideline. Going out of bounds isn't really in his isn't an option for him. He doesn't know what that means. He runs over people instead of running around them. He's a tough guy. Picked second round in the draft this year. So big expectations.
Is that the one from North Carolina?
Yeah, from UNC. So he had big expectations, and he's lived up to them. He's been one of those players. I think every team has a player like that, where if you watch the team and you follow the team, you know about him. And then when they play another team, their fan base goes, oh, I had no idea he was that impactful. He's that guy for the Broncos so far, that when teams play Denver, they go, oh, I didn't realize Javonte Williams was that big of an asset to this team. He's becoming more and more of an asset. And this would be fun for you guys to see on Sunday, is that Williams and Gordon, they kind of alternate not snaps, but just drives. And I think it's an interesting approach because you just get, maybe I wouldn't say a lack of a rhythm, but you get a whole fresh set of downs essentially every single time you go out on the field. So they alternate drives more often than snaps, but it's an up and down run game in Denver. But overall, I think it's a tough one. Now it's going to be up to this offensive line that's going to have to play some Band-Aids this week to figure it out.
So on offense, what would you say you guys are a balanced offense, or more of a rushing attack offense, or a passing offense?
I think balance. I think balance is a good way of putting it. Teddy Bridgewater, I think one of his biggest knocks coming into this year is that he's not a big push the envelope, go deep kind of guy. But with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, he's got no problem airing it out. So that's one of his biggest knocks. Now, he still every now and then kind of takes the check down. It doesn't get, if it's third, the saying goes, if it's third and 5, he'll get you 7 yards. If it's 3rd and 10, he'll get you 7 yards. So he can be a little bit of a short passer in terms of what he's reaching for. But with Jeudy back in the lineup, it seems like it's going back in the direction of pushing it down the field. And then the run game, you combine Gordon and Williams, and you're going to get about 120 yards between them. So it's nothing too flashy. That's not one of the best running attacks in the NFL, but it's not one of the worst. So it's somewhere in the middle. And
what about your defensive side? Blitz heavy or more of a zone D?
You're looking at a Vic Fangio defense. So a Vic Fangio defense, a variety of looks at you. It's not going to be simple. Now, this is a Broncos team that's really banged up. You look at the starting linebackers. You've got Kenny Young, who they just traded for from the Rams. Okay. Then you've got a bunch of guys that weren't really either on the roster or playing much at the beginning of the season. They picked up a couple people during the trade deadline. So looking at blitz heavy or zone heavy, they're looking at more of just situational football. They are not a simple pegged as one-dimensional kind of defense. They go with the ebbs and the flows of the game, and they're also still figuring out what works for this new personnel. So Fangio's still figuring out. I got a whole bunch of – he has 4 different starting linebackers right now than he had for the first week of the season, first 2 weeks. You got to think about that. Then he lost his backups too. So we're down to thin ice here. So he's not really following a strict playbook of this is the defense we do. He's following a playbook of, hey, what's your name and what are you good at? We're going to figure it out together.
Nice. So what I want to see was give me 3 rookies that has really impressed you so far this early in the season.
3 rookies. So Javonte will Patrick Surtain. Pick the best one so far. Surtain is coming on. He's still I think in the NFL, when you see rookies have growing pains at good moments, there's a rewarding sight to it where it's like, oh, it's clicking. It's almost there. And when you see it in their first year compared to their third year, you have something special in that play. So Surtain for me is one of those guys that has a lapse every now and then, but overall he's the best corner on this team. And that says a lot because he came into the season 4th on the depth chart. Because the Broncos had a lot of talent. They had Ronald Darby. I think that's a name you remember.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Fuller, who was a big bust, frankly, at free agent signing. And then you have Bryce Callahan, and one of the best nickel slot corners in the NFL. And then you had Surtain. So Surtain has really elevated his game. He's become the best corner on this team, especially with Callahan out. So I'd put Surtain in that conversation. Absolutely. Javonte Williams is just a tough guy to bring down, plain and simple. He brings football back a couple centuries, decades. So he's a tough guy to tackle. And then another rookie I'm looking at in the secondary, Caden Stearns. This is a third string backup safety that's been fun to watch. Quinn Miners, he's going to fill in on the offensive line. They call him Belly. He just lets it all hang out. He says he's trying to focus more on the game rather than the personality. But Quinn Miners, he's going to be a fun guy to watch this Sunday. So those are some names that quickly come to mind. I don't want to miss anyone, but
yeah, that's good.
Those are the big ones.
Nice. Have you been watching any of the Eagles football so far this year?
Yeah, I have been.
What's your impressions?
Put a beat down on Detroit. I thought the Lions would pick up their first win of the season that year, that game, but not the case. But I've watched Philly when I can for sure. It's interesting to see that when Miles Sanders goes out, then they start to run the football. That made me a bit of a head scratcher. But Nick Sirianni, he's working on his flowers. He's gardening a lot, it sounds like. So we'll see if anything grows to fruition this Sunday.
Are there any players that you're worried about going into this matchup? Give me a couple players that you'd be worried about in this matchup making an impact for us.
So you got to start at the quarterback, right? You got Jalen Hurts. That he's tough to figure out. I'm sure Eagles fans, I'd love to hear what you have to say about him. He's tough to figure out. Is he legit? Is he a fantasy quarterback? And, he picks up garbage stuff and he runs a lot. So it looks good on the stat sheet. But Hurts he's a tough one to peg. He's got good Sundays and bad Sundays from what I've read. So I'm curious to see, as an Eagles fan, what your diagnosis of Jalen Hurts is.
Me, man, I believe you just got to trust the process. You know what I'm saying? Jalen Hurts only played, 12 games, 13 games in NFL, to be top 10 overall. And every quarterback that's ever went in there, you can count garbage time. You can count, when teams are up, down, doesn't matter. I think the biggest problem is a lot of fans only look at his passing. You know what I'm saying? They try to dissect the passing part of Jalen Hurts. He's a dual threat quarterback. You know what I'm saying? The passing is going to come around the longer he plays it, the more you start watching coverages, the more he gets more adapted and gets some more coaching on his passing game. But you can't discredit the running side. The running side is huge. You know what I'm saying? He extends drives. You know what I'm saying? He makes plays with his legs that most quarterbacks can't make with their legs. So it's like you got to put it as a total package, and that's what I do. And I think that, he's doing good. I think he's been progressing every single game, regardless if people want to believe it or not. I'm not going to be a guy to go kill him off of 2 passes he missed, you know what I'm saying? Because all the great quarterbacks miss on passes, you know what I'm saying? They all have some where they want to get back and try to, do something with. But those are early in the game. And if you looked at the rest of the game last week, he went pretty much perfect the rest of the game after that. You know what I'm saying? He's finding a nice little groove with Devontae Smith. They're looking good together, picking and choosing when they hit. I'd like to see him get the ball out to the tight ends more and maybe to the Quez Watkins more, but that's more of a coaching thing. I think his stats, if you added all those touchdowns that he had earlier in the season that got called back, his stats would be a lot better now. And I don't think there'd be so many confused people. But since those things did happen, you know what I'm saying? You got people wondering, is Jalen the guy, Jalen not the guy? If we ran the ball the first 6 weeks of the season, that could have been something different because Jalen's a rhythm quarterback. He don't need to throw the ball more than, 20, 25 times. That's not his game. You know what I'm saying? He's not that quarterback that's going to sit back there and launch 40 balls down the field. It's not good for him. It's not good for the offensive line. It's not good for the defense. You know what I'm saying? So I think Nick Sirianni's finally realizing that. And on your thing with Miles Sanders, I think Miles was going to get a lot of carries that game. I think Nick, that was the beginning first game where Nick wanted to actually start incorporating his run game. So I think when you had Jalen earlier in the season doing all these play actions, but we weren't running the ball, it wasn't helping him out because, no one was biting on the run because they knew we weren't running the ball. So now that you're starting to see the run game getting an effect, he looks a lot more smoother out there. He looks a lot more crisp out there. I think moving forward, as long as we run the ball, Jalen should look pretty good here on out.
So is Sanders returning to the lineup this week?
He said he's back. I see a Twitter post saying he's back. So
that's all you need right there. If it's on Twitter, then it has to be true.
Yeah, so I think with Sanders back, everybody's like, I told you guys, Sanders not the guy. But same thing with him. He didn't get enough carries earlier in the season.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Know what they were doing to him.
Yeah. So if he gets those carries, the last 2 games, those backs got 10 to 14 carries apiece. So Sanders should be able to come in. And I know he's coming off an injury, but at least get 14 to 15 carries this game. You know what I'm saying? Keep him in a rotation. Keep Howard in for short yardage. Let the rookie and Scott do some of that passing stuff you got going on out there. And you got a nice, foursome of backs that you can use at your disposal. So if Nick Sirianni's smart, he'll stick with his game plan. And that definitely is going to open up the pass game, man. If you notice, Devontae Smith got his second 100-yard game last week from us running the ball. People think if you run the ball, you're not going to have enough passing yards for your receivers and stuff, and that's just not the case. If you look at every top flight quarterback out there, their team's running the ball. They got a running back, that's getting at least close to 100 yards every game. That's why they're putting up the big numbers because, everybody has to come down, crowd the box, load up the box. And when you got that and another team don't know what you're doing, you're more dynamic as an offense. You're not as predictable. Those first 6 weeks, we were very predictable. Everybody knew we were just going to pass the ball. That was it. And I think now Nick understands that. Now, if we can get JG, and that's the big problem for us, is JG on that defensive side. If we can get him rolling this week and get him to start blitzing and using these defenders right, I think our team will be good here on out.
So Fletcher Cox, he's had kind of an up and down year, right? He slowish start. Name was talked about during the trade deadline. I've always liked him as a player, but he's going to have a big Sunday potentially because he'll be going up against a rookie right guard. So I'm going to assume that the Eagles have been hitting that point a ton in practice this week. What have your thoughts been so far on Cox, and what can I guess Broncos fans expect to see out of the big guy in the middle?
My deal with Fletcher is he got to start doing more. We've seen a couple of games where he did a little bit of something, but it's time to find out, are you done? Are you washed? Is this your time's up, coming up in Philly? Or can you still be that elite defensive tackle that we expect? Right now, Hargraves is our defensive tackle that's producing the most this year. He has 6.5 sacks. Fletcher only has 1 sack. And I would like to see, was it just that Brandon Graham went out and he was your guy on the side, that helped you out too? Or are you still elite? Because Fletcher needs to, I think we pay him too much for him not to produce. If he takes a pay cut, where, he's only making $10 million, $15 million a year, then I'll be fine with what he does. Clog up that run like you do, because he's still always been good at the run clogging part of his game. But he needs to have put more pressure on the quarterbacks, opposing quarterbacks, Hargraves get doubled, he's still getting sacks. Fletcher's bigger than Hargraves. Fletcher should be out there getting sacks, So I feel like he got to prove it still. He's in improvement mode the rest of this year, for me at least. I want to see if maybe he can, go back to his elite form, like get back there, because I think, I don't want to be one of those cases where we paid him and then ever since we paid him, his stats starts to go down. That's just the Fletcher cost we're going to get the rest of the time. So Fletcher's still a good player, I thought maybe he was going to get shipped during the trading deadline because we have some young DTs out there, but I'm glad he's still here and hopefully he stays, for a couple more years. He just got to prove it to us, Like if he got paid less, I wouldn't be crying too much about him. But since you get paid like that quarterback money, hey, you got to show me quarterback type stats out here.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, our defense, man, like I said, when Gannon mixes it up, when he plays a little bit more man, stops being scared of the opposing quarterback, like when we played all the big names, we played a lot of zone because he was scared of the deep play. You can't do that. And I think that's just first year coach's mistakes, like his first time, running the defense himself. So he's like, oh, these big time quarterbacks, I'm gonna drop everybody so there's nothing big going over the top of me. But it's leaving too much stuff in the middle and underneath. If you keep running the ball, if you keep having 5-yard passes, eventually you're gonna get to that goal line and score a touchdown. So you gotta be more versatile and be able to attack, those big time quarterbacks. Those guys are just like any other quarterback. You put the pressure on them, they're gonna fold. Tom Brady, you pressure Tom Brady, you can win that game. Mahomes, same thing. All the big guys, you pressure them, you get that heat on them, and you can win those games. So I think he just needs to get out of that scared, passive type defense where we play these elite quarterbacks and just to stay attacking. That's a Philly defense. We don't really care if you blitz. Don't get home, big play happen. At least you had the guts to do it. We seen the house get brought like last week. Well, it's a 4th down and it's the last play of the game basically. Either we stop them now or it's the end of the game, and you still are in the zone defense. You didn't bring the whole house, the stadium, the fans, the cheerleaders, everybody. You should have brought everybody on that 4th down, and for you to be in that, trusting your front 4 on the 4th down, that's just ridiculous coaching, So right now, he's the one that's on the hot seat. I think Nick's definitely done gotten better. He's learning how to run the ball and use that to his benefit. But Gannon definitely got to change it up. Or if we go to you guys, 5 quarterbacks over 80% against us. That's never happened in like the history of Eagles. Like, and one was even 90%. You're making all these quarterbacks look like, Pro Bowl quarterbacks out there.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. If Bridgewater comes out this week, he goes like 30 for 35, 3 touchdowns. I think Gannon should get that pink slip and don't get it right back to Philly.
Yeah, leave him on the tarmac.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you got to go, but give me 3 hot takes for this week's game.
3 hot takes. All right. Let's think about this one. Broncos are they're 3-point favorites. Teddy loves to cover, so we'll circle back to that one. But 3 hot takes. Let's go with finally going to get the true Jerry Jeudy breakout game. I don't know if that's really that hot of a take, but he's been inching closer and closer to that, and he's missed most of this year so far. But when he's on the field, he's been very productive. So let's go with Jerry Jeudy and 2 touchdowns, something crazy like that. On the defense, I think a name people are going to really start to learn is Jonathan Cooper. He's the 7th-round pick out of Ohio State. He's been mostly just riding the bench all year because Von Miller and Bradley Chubb have been out there. Well, Chubb for a half. But now that a couple of those bigger wigs are out of the way, Jonathan Cooper, I think he's going to go off again. Had a great game against Dallas last week, and you're going to see that again. And I think the Broncos, I'm sorry to say, I think they're going to win. It's tough to play at Mile High. Especially when that temperature drops and that elevation is up there. I know the Eagles probably haven't played in Denver for 8 years.
No.
Every 4 years they alternate, so you're going to see a whole new Eagles team that's probably maybe some guys on some former teams that played in Denver, but it's a tough place to go. That doesn't mean that they're undefeated at home, but it's something to know. And when you go to Mile High, it's pretty intimidating what they do at the away locker room. They've got tons of signs and painted on the walls of warning, you are at high elevation. They let you know you're above 5,000 feet, and you feel it a little bit. So it's a fast Eagles offense. I just don't know if they're fast enough to catch their breath because it's thin up there. So I'm going to go with the Broncos win over the Eagles. Let's make it 28-23.
Oh, nice. That's respectable. Respectable, man. Is it really that hard? Are you going to the game first, or are you going to the game?
No, so I'll be doing. I'm here in Dallas, so I'll be doing a recap right after the game. But love to be up there. It's fun. I love cold weather football. Fall's nice and all, but real football is played, in November and December, January. So it's going to be fun to see. Hopefully, we get once you see people's breath in the air, that's when football's really started.
Oh, yeah, man. Like you said, man, it's a big game this week. I got the Birds going. Let's see, because I changed it all week. This is my first week. I haven't been exact. I'm not saying, are we going to play good or are we going to play bad? How the coaching part. Because that's what it comes down to me. But I'm going
to. Did I lose you? You there? I can't hear you. I got nothing. Oh, boy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Sorry about that. My internet went out. So, but I'm going to say that
you're trying to say the Eagles are going to win, and I don't think the internet wants you to.
The Eagles are going to win 28-21. It's going to be like last-second touchdown. Jalen's going to make a spectacular play. Our defense is going to hold, and we're going to get that W, though. That's how I see it. I think we're going to win. We're going to get on track because we're still not out of the wild card race, and I think there's still a possibility that we can get there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we start out with winning you guys, the rest of our schedule gets a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? We play New York Giants twice. We play the Jets once. The Saints hit or miss, which Saints team we're going to get. And then the Washington football team, I'm not really too worried about those guys too much. So if we can get this W this week, move on, and go on a nice little stretch, we might be able to get that last wild card spot. And I know you guys can give up one. You know what I'm saying? You guys are still in the run.
No room to give. I mean, the AFC is kind of crappy this year, especially after seeing on Thursday night last night. But Denver,
aren't you guys leading your division?
Pardon?
Aren't you guys leading the division over there?
No. We are at the bottom. Or no, sorry, third. Chiefs are at the bottom. But
what are you guys' records? I thought you guys were 5-3, right?
No, you got 5-4 Broncos. The Chargers are at the top right now.
Oh yeah, Chargers. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, especially with the win they picked up last week. Thanks for that one.
Yeah. Sorry we couldn't help you out there.
But the Broncos, they're in a weird spot. They're a 5-4 team, but if you watch them play and you talk about them with people and you never knew their record, you think they're more like a 3-16. But they're just outside the playoff picture right now. And Vic Fangio, this is his third year. It's playoffs or busts. If
What do
you
you
go
think?
3 years and you don't make the playoffs in any of those 3 years, and you have a losing record across the board, you're probably out of a job. So Fangio, he feels that pressure. And he knows it's been, a little unfair, just the injuries that have racked up across his time in Denver, and especially this year. But NFL doesn't have much forgiveness. So Fangio, he is coaching for his job. I mean, that's a little redundant, but you saw it in Dallas last week. They punched the Cowboys in the face. So
Yeah,
he's
they
looking
did.
for the clean sweep against the NFC East.
What do you think your record prediction for them for the year?
Record prediction for the year. So they're 5-4 right now. I think they are a 9-win team. I think they are a 9-8 team.
Nice.
I think there's 4 more. I think there's 4 more wins left in them. They've got some tough teams coming up. So
Is that wild card?
They haven't played the Chiefs yet. So you got 2 games against Kansas City. Broncos haven't beaten Kansas City in almost a decade. Wild card, tough to say. Right now, you look at the wild card, and the 7th one is the 7th and 6th are still up for grabs. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card spot, and I don't think the Steelers are a good football team. I think they are a well-coached Mike Tomlin year after year, finding a way to manufacture wins, but I just don't have faith in Roethlisberger performing for the rest of the year unless he's in a wheelchair. So I think it's the Steelers fall off, but 9-8, 10-7. I don't think that will get you in, but who knows?
Nice, man. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Let everybody know where they can find you at. His link is in the chat, so make sure you guys go subscribe to Chat Sports Broncos. He has great coverage over there. And if you haven't subscribed to Bird Game 31, you're a Broncos fan. I do cover the Eagles, but, I do collabs with every team. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of guests on my show. So it's a great channel. Check it out. But go ahead.
It's been a blast on here. Make sure you subscribe. Broncos Breakdown on Chat Sports. But thank you so much for having me on. This was awesome. I had a great time talking shop.
All right. Well, good luck to your team this week. And fly, Eagles, fly. Until next time, this is Bird Game 31, and we are out. Peace.